So yes, we'll start with that, do we?
So apologies and apologies. Yeah, just you need to blend down. Yeah, people are leaving that for you. That's a unique selling point. Nobody has got them on their own. So on the table.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting. Are you here for a chat or for a board meeting?
Good evening, members. Chair.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Planning and Development Board. The first item is the evacuation procedure. For those who are not aware, we are not expecting a fire test or anything to happen tonight. So if you hear the alarm, it's likely to be a real event. Please leave the building by the nearest, safest exit, which is likely to be that door, or if not, the front door that you enter the building by, and meet at assembly point B on the car park, which is just outside those windows. Please don't just go home, because otherwise our legal officer will have to hunt you down to stop the fire brigade going through a burning building. Apologies for absence of members on official council business. I have one apology. As you are almost certainly aware, Councillor Riley unfortunately is still in hospital. And Councillor Clues, welcome to the meeting. He's standing in. So, welcome, Councillor Clues. Are you all happy that we write to Councillor Riley wishing him a speedy recovery?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, disclosable pecuniary and non-pecuniary interest. Does anyone have anything to disclose? Thank you. Agenda item number 4 is the minutes of the meeting of the board held on the 8th of January. Are you all content that I sign them as a true and correct record? No. Thank you very much. Agenda item 5, members, if you'll forgive me, I'd like to go to agenda item 6 first, because we need to do the fees for local land charges before we agree the overall budget. Would you like to introduce the report, please?
Yeah, happily. Oh, there you go, that's better. Thank you. Annually we review the land charges fees, and for the last substantial number of years, the review was solely related to the application of an inflationary uplift. We're in a position where we're not recovering the costs of the land charges service, but the regulations permit the recovery of certain elements of the land charges service on a cost recovery basis. So we undertook a sort of comparison of the fees charged by comparable local authorities, and it was clear that our charges were substantially less than the charged by those comparable local authorities. So we are proposing a revised fee schedule, twofold, to try and remedy the costs deficit in the running of the service, and to bring those fees more in line with fees charged by comparable neighbouring authorities.
Thank you. Members, any comments, questions? Councillor Bell?
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I don't understand what's it called? Con 29, is it called? The Con 29 element of the land fees. I have read the report several times and it's not made it any clearer. If we can't answer it tonight, we just have some clarification at some point, because it seems to be quite important, because that's something we'll be holding on to when the rest of it goes to the land registry.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Any other questions before Councillor Ridley?
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I've read it as well, but land charges, obviously people can do it themselves, can't they, online? But so do you think that there's a definite decline in people coming to the council for land charge searches nowadays?
I don't think that we have found that. I think the number of personal searches, as they're called, have been sort of relatively consistent. What will happen in the near future is that the land registry will take our register and will deliver they call it the LLC1. Those questions will be answered by an online search directly to the land registry, but utilising the register that is kept by North Warwickshire Borough Council.
Councillor Hobley?
Just a point of clarification. Con 29 is for conveyancing requests. I've just had a Google because I didn't know what it was either. That's it. So thank you.
Thank you.
If I might, Jim. Thank you, Councillor Hobley. But I'm not quite sure if that makes it any clearer for me. Anyway, we'll get a note on it. Thanks anyway for the direction.
Councillor Hayfield?
I'm happy to move the recommendations with a sort of a request as well that we get a note circulated to us all on what some of the terms and things are explaining this. I don't think we need to have something come back to the board, but we need to have something that can be circulated to members of the board to just detail what some of these things mean. I've got no idea. It was, and that's very helpful. But I'm sure there are other things where we need some of the help.
Thank you.
So I've moved it on that. If you want to vary that last bit, I'm happy to. But I've moved it.
Yeah, well, Councillor Phillips.
Yes, Chair. Before we move to the vote, just to let you know that we'll be abstaining on budgetary items because of the budget.
Sports.
So, members, it's been proposed as a seconder, Councillor Dolis, that we move the recommendations A and B as it said, and we have item C at the bottom, I think, which Councillor Hayfield said that we have a more detailed explanation.
A note or something rather than coming back to the board.
Yeah. Anything to add? No, you're okay?
No, that's perfectly fine. I'll make sure a notice is brought to the board.
Thank you very much. All those in favour? Those against? Those abstained? Thank you very much. That's carried. So if we now move back to agenda item number 5, which is the general revenue budget, general fund revenue budget estimates for 23-24. Mr. Brown is being the Director of Finance this evening, so Mr. Brown.
Well, I'm going to say, Mr. Chairman, if members have got questions, I'll do my best to answer them. If not, as per the last recommendation, I will take it back to speak to the Director myself.
May anyone think of any particularly detailed questions to ask Mr. Brown?
I'll move the recommendation, Chairman.
I'll second it, Chair. We'll be nice to him.
For one night only. Any other questions, members? Okay, it's been proposed and seconded. Those in favour? Those against? Those abstaining? Thank you very much. That will carry. So we will now move on to planning application number 423 for land to the south of Watling Street, Aldicott. Mr. MacDonald, you indicated that you'd like to speak, so if you take the speaker's chair while Mr. Brown introduces his report. Mr. Brown.
Right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me just run through the slides first, and then I'll update members as we normally do. Most of the slides, in fact, are replications of what you have in your paper in front of you. The top slide there shows the site coloured yellow, and there's just a red line plan further below. But on that plan, you can see the A5 running along the northern part of the site, the A444 along the sort of southwestern side. You see the group of settlements around the Redgate roundabout on the top left. In terms of the proposals, then the top plan there is what we call the parameters plan, which basically indicates how the site would be developed in broad terms. Members will have seen this before from previous reports, but the yellow areas are the developable areas, and the green and blue areas around the site are those which will be landscaped and provided with the drainage feature. You see the zones on there, and they're qualified in the legend on the right-hand side. And down below, although not part of the application, there's an illustration of how that might pan out in terms of built development on the site. As I said, the top plan is part of the application. The second one is not. And then in terms of the road system here and the arrangements that are going to be made, or the rearrangements that are going to be made, I've included all of the details in the plan in the report for you. But let me just run through them in a bit more detail on the screen with larger plans. You can see the top there, which is the bottom one to start with, which is the diversion from Weddington Lane through the site, with a new roundabout just to the north east of the A44, and the short cul-de-sac here, private road, which is indicated in the report, which will serve the private properties down here. And then the closure of the road up here towards Caldecott, such that coming off the roundabout at the Redgate, it forms a cul-de-sac. This is Weddington Road and Drayton Lane. As you can see, Weddington Lane Woolford Lane and Drayton Lane, which, as you can see now from the report, is going to remain as it is. But the National Highways will be undertaking some work, some survey work on the site in terms of speed reductions. The overall layout, as you can see, is to divert the 444 through the site to the existing Myer roundabout up here. The earlier plan I showed you was down here, and you can see the A44 being diverted through the site, with the A44 being stopped off roundabout here before you get to turn off into Caldecott, and then the rearrangement of the Redgate roundabout to a normal conventional roundabout further to the east, and then the loop round here for that sort of the circulation of the properties in that area. These are just detailed plans. I won't go through those. You can see the bus stops on the diverted A444 through the site. And I said that's the one that I showed you before, related to the 444 at the bottom end. And that one does show you where the closure would be on the site for the 444, beg your pardon. Right, as we go. That's the Redgate rearrangements, a bit more detail. The existing roundabout is down here. The Redgate public house being here, and the other properties are here. The 444, as it continues north, is here, and you can see where the new roundabout would be at the far end of the existing roundabout, and the arrangements that are made here. There's reference in the report to the impact on this particular business and you can see the references to that in my report. The existing access off the A5 into the site as if going east will remain, as you can see here, and the access points onto the 444, both to go north and south, will remain. However, if someone comes out of here, they will not be able to immediately turn to go towards Atherstone. They'll have to go round the roundabout and round that way. These are some of the cross sections which are included in the report, and I've managed to get some copies in front of you for members tonight. They may have to be shared, but you should have 2 or 3 replicas of these in front of you. There's the detailed short sections here, which you can see are BB and KK on the top right-hand corner. You see where those cross sections are. The top one being at the end of Caldecott through to the car, what ostensibly will be a car parking area. Just to the northeast, so you can see where that is, and then the other end, close to the private properties which I referred to before, which are here, the private road, and then the 444 slightly diverted, and the landscape buns between that and the properties, and on this case here, you can again see the landscape buns on the top of that in this general area here. And then there are 2 other cross sections, longer cross sections, which you have in front of you. One's XX and one's a YY. The first one deals with from Caldecott all the way through the site to the A5. So Caldecott is here. The 444 here is down here somewhere. And this particular building is the one at the far end facing the A5, which is up here. And the 3 cross sections below are more detailed or larger enlargement of that particular one. And then this one here is a longer view from Caldecott through to effectively the Weddington Way where the railway line is. So the railway line is here, far right hand side, Caldecott is over here, and the 444 would be back round about here where you can see the landscaping mound is. And again, the 3 cross sections below have a bit more detail and enlargement of that particular cross section. The conservation area in Caldecott, which is now a new material consideration, is outlined there, with the site coming up to this particular boundary here at the rear of these properties here where the village hall is. And then finally, the 2 areas marked on there, again referred to in the report, and the whole of the yellow area is the current application site. Area B is the allocation, E4 in the local plan, and the section marked A is the additional land, which is referred to in the report. Additionally, Mr. Chairman, members will have had circulated over the weekend a brochure from the applicant. I understand they probably will refer to that tonight. Remember that was circulated over the weekend. Additionally, I circulated a letter from Lodders Solicitors, which you will see in front of you tonight, which is a reference to the situation at the Redgate businesses, which I was referring you to. That particular letter indicates that there are some concerns, remaining concerns, about the access and convenience of those businesses. And you'll see from the bottom of that letter that because the National Highways and Warwickshire and Leicestershire County Councils have not yet come back or withdrawn their objections, that the solicitors group here is saying that they're asking that no decision should be made until those particular authorities come back with an objection or a no objection. I've looked at this letter, Mr. Chairman, and I've taken advice, and Mrs. Ryan can probably add to this, but it's our view that that should not change the recommendation in front of you tonight. The recommendation is still conditional on highway authorities coming back with no objection. If any of the three authorities come back with an objection, then the matter will be referred back to the board for determination. This is not a determination report, it's a minor to support in principle subject to. Mrs. Ryan may want to add to that at some stage later on. We have also had, I have also had an email from the Fenny Drayton Ward member today, to say that they feel that that there's been insufficient attention given to the issues raised by Fenny Drayton, particularly the rat running through the village, and whether this may or may not worsen that particular situation. In line with Mr. Chair with what I've just said about national highways, that email has gone off to the 3 authorities, and I've particularly asked them to comment on that in their responses back. So therefore that's been taken forward, and it should not in itself lead to a deferment tonight, in my view. I'm not going to go through the report, Mr. Chairman. It's a lengthy report. I've gone through all the issues, and I hope that they've been covered. Really, I'll ask any questions, but I suspect that some of the detailed questions may be better answered by the applicants who are wishing to speak to you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Members, you've all had the email. On your desk is a copy of the letter from Lodder's. Can I ask you've all had the opportunity to read it, or if anyone hasn't, would you like a adjournment for 10 minutes to do so? I'll take it unless anyone says anything that you've all read it. Mr. Brown, just one thing in your comments. You mentioned that the resolution was minded to support. It's actually resolves planning subject to talk. Yeah. I don't think that particularly changes the nature of the report or your recommendation, but it is, members, a resolution to grant consent, not minded to talk.
Yeah, I accept that, Mr. Chairman, but it is conditional because obviously absolutely. Yeah.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Council House. Ms. Ryan will now explain the rules on public speaking, which you may have heard before. Mr. Ryan.
Yes, you've got 3 minutes between you this week, so that can be whatever you decide. Do you want 1.5 minutes and 1.5 minutes, or?
I might be greedy.
Okay, well, what I'll do is I'll let you know when we reach 1.5 minutes, okay, and then you can work that out between you. So I'll set the clock going when you start speaking.
Good evening. Myra's been a key employer in the area for over 50 years, but in the last 10 years, there has really been a dramatic change in the technology part, which has seen significant investment and employment created. And that's only been exacerbated by the revolution in automotive technology, where we've seen the introduction of low carbon fuels such as hydrogen, which is a key part of the technology part and the growth of the cluster. The Myra South site is an extraordinary opportunity to expand that cluster into North Warwickshire and importantly deliver large-scale manufacturing facilities which can't be accommodated on the north of the site. The proposed development is highly complementary with the existing technology park in delivering units in excess of 200,000 square feet, and that will attract major international engineering companies looking for large facilities for advanced manufacturing and operations such as that. On completion, importantly, we're projecting to deliver 2,500 jobs within the new development and a gross value add of approximately 500 million over the first 5 years. But with the recent growth and the expansion of the technology park, skills and training has been a key aspect. And Myra Technology Institute has been instrumental in that, delivering in excess of 17,000 delegates trained throughout its 5-year life to date, and 42,000 visitors. We'll be seeking to leverage on that through the Section 106 that we signed with the council. We've worked extensively over the last 2 years with the council, statutory consultees such as Highways and the local community to deliver a mitigation package for the development. And should the council members resolve to approve the planning application this evening, it would unlock one of the most significant economic development opportunities within the borough seen for many recent years.
1 minute left.
1 minute. Thank you. The committee report considers the proposals and the associated issues well, so I'm not going to dwell on those, but I thought I would take this opportunity in 30 seconds or whatever I have left to just comment on the transport issues. The we're aware that there's a lot of interest in the traffic generation and some of the inadequacies and the accidents already experienced on the network. These proposals, however, will deliver a number of associated major highway improvements, including the Redgate Junction improvements, the rediversion of 444, capacity upgrades to Higham Lane roundabout, Myra roundabout, over £1 million of public transport funding, new cycle and pedestrian routes. While we'll be accelerating these improvements to the network, it is also not the responsibility of Myra to sort out every single existing local issue on the network.
Time's up, right?
Thank you.
Thanks both. Members, do you have any questions for our speaker? Councillor Hobley?
Sorry. While I appreciate Myra, I think it's absolutely fantastic, especially for our local economy. You know, I've got a young family. What you're doing for young women and girls is absolutely fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic for our local area, and it's something that we should be really, really proud of as a whole borough. My only concern is, why is Woodford Lane been left out of the plans? Because that is, as the ward member for Hartshill, alongside Councillor Bell, it's our main source of accidents. You're not a stranger to it, I'm sure. Why has it been left out? And I know it's not your problem entirely, and I really, really do appreciate that. I know it's a highways issue, but if it was brought into the planning application to do something, it could have made a real difference. You're already making such a massive difference to the economy. Why not just add that one, that one bit? Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Answer straight away. Okay. So we did look at these junctions, and the application's been submitted since August 2022. We've had extensive consultation with the highway authorities, all three of them. We originally planned that it should be a traffic light junction to address the issue of accidents. That created issues in itself in terms of particularly, on the opposite side, people taking the opportunity to run through Fenny Drayton. So we then had to reconsider how we would address it. And then we looked at this left in, left out arrangement. Again, that would have addressed some of the issues, and I think it was supported to some extent by quite a few people. But it does also mean that it limits some of the existing businesses around those junctions, because they can't get in and out in the same way which they're using at the moment. So we will carry on trying to find a solution which try to work best for everyone, really. And ultimately, our discussions with the highways, National Highway, were that they were already looking at something on this site, and rather than preempt what their strategy would be, that we would contribute to the funding of safety enhancement works while they looked at that. So I agree, it's not the solution perhaps which we would have envisaged, but in working with all the highways authorities and for National Highways to come with a kind of balanced response to what they're going to do with this is what we consider to be the best solution, really. I guess they're considering, wider things on the local network, so they have to go through that process before they can actually come to a conclusion of what is the best solution.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you, Chair. I'm a bit on the same as Councillor Hobley over there, because I'm the member for Manchester. And we do get Woodford Lane is a problem. I probably get a phone call at least twice a week, but acting as the member for Manchester, which is a bit of a relief for Manchester Parish Council, because the worry was that it was going to be pushed through Manchester. Now, you did state earlier on that there was going to be 2,500 jobs. We know that a lot of those will be specialised jobs. But I remember at a previous meeting, I did bring up about will you be using our local colleges for the skills, like you said, and for apprenticeships? Because I remember at one meeting that way back that you did say that at one time you used Burton College. But, if you're going to be using our locals, which one of the biggest problems we have in North Warwickshire is transport as well, because we're so rural.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jack.
Firstly, just in terms of the employment apprenticeships, we've got, it's a bit of a matrix actually, because we've got 40 companies that operate on site. What we've seen actually, even during COVID, is that a number of those are employing younger and younger people. And they're looking for talent that they can upskill. So they're very dependent upon all the initiatives that we've got relative to allowing training, because many of them develop specialist technology, and so need to train their employees. Apprenticeships across the board are really important. There's many of the companies on site that deliver apprenticeships, not just Reba Myra. And what we try and do is help them implement those and also help them recruit. So we've got quite a lot of school visits, trying to open the eyes of young students as to what the possibilities are. We've got North Warwickshire and Hinckley College are the college partner who help run Myra Technology Institute. And it's not, we also have 3 universities that are involved in there. So it's really across the spectrum, the opportunities exist. And it's in the interest of all the businesses on site to make sure that both locally and further afield, everyone is aware of the opportunity, because finding employment is probably one of the biggest challenges. And as the cluster grows, the more attractive it is for people to work there. So what we've got just with regard to the south side is trying to kind of leverage on that. We may have different, because we've got manufacturing on the south side, which we don't have on the north. That's going to introduce yet another employment opportunity. As far as the site, that we have, since the original consent for the north sites, we improved public transport through a contribution, and that's part of the 106 levy for the south side as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Parsons?
Thank you, Chair. Just a very quick one. I'm always impressed by the way you're looking at hydrogen as a prospect for the future here, because I think that's a bit of an ignored area nationally. You mentioned 3 universities. Could you tell us which universities have been involved in this?
Yeah. So there is the Myra Technology Institute was effectively founded on a partnership of the Further Education College, but also Loughborough University, Leicester University, and Coventry. But there's actually a lot of work with other universities, including Imperial, UCL, Warwick, just depending upon the particular type of technology or development. I mean, you touch on hydrogen. What we've actually got is really a growing acknowledgement that this is a real centre for hydrogen technology. There are, I think now we've got 5 or 6 companies that are involved. They're largely heavy duty vehicles and large vehicles that have hydrogen technology. But we're also producing green hydrogen, or will shortly produce green hydrogen on site. So nationally, it's coming under the spotlight. And it's also under the spotlight for autonomous technology. We are a European centre of excellence for autonomous technology. And these are the kind of future trends which we're really trying to ensure grow and bring more companies to the site with that speciality. The one thing I would say on employment is, whilst you might look at high tech, high level jobs, that filters all the way down in terms of the supply chain, the indirect jobs which are created, and all of the companies on site and what they're looking for in terms of even local enterprise, where the places to eat, to hotels to stay in, etc. So it has that kind of wider impact.
Chair, I'll just go back in. Just say I'm really pleased that our regional universities are focused here. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So 200,000 square feet in business space. We've already got companies signed up in blood on the line, dotted line, and they're going to deliver. They are signed.
No, what we have is visibility in the market as to where facilities are required, and one of the issues we work with is the timeline for decision making. So if all goes well and we're successful, then there is a period of time, obviously, for reserve access and then to get into construction and deliver these facilities. What we do have visibility on are companies who are working through the prototype, who are moving into manufacturing, and then are looking at 2025, 26 to actually create to create manufacturing facilities. And if they're aligned to the technologies at the technology park, then it's an ideal location for them to be. When we're in a position where we've got a site ready to go, consented, and then we work with them to design up their units and get into construction, that's the period where we can really start landing opportunities. And they're not going, and to be honest, we don't want them to go to the Netherlands or Germany or France. We want them to come to the UK. And many companies that we see, particularly that are located in the north, are making those international decisions. Here's a natural home, but we want to try and attract them with the best possible offer, and that timeline is key. So we've worked long and hard with the likes of the highways authorities, and we're very keen to be in a position where we can actually, with certainty, say to companies, we can deliver your building within X period. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's going along similar lines to everybody else. Obviously, there is going to be additional traffic, so some of it's been mitigated, but there is going to be an impact of such a large scale development. And I think that when we're looking at the balance, there is a huge benefit. But I think for us, it's about making sure that it is, I think, the people of North Warwickshire who are. So things like local procurement, whether or not things are going to be the economy around the Myra 2 site is going to be kind of built up around making sure that those jobs that we're talking about, and especially the high GVA jobs, are actually coming to our families and support the people locally. We have a very transient population at the moment, where obviously we export quite a lot of workers out, and that's not good for. It's not good for the local economy, but it's also not good for our carbon footprint and for other things like that. So it's about whether or not we've got the guarantees to make sure that it has the imminent effect locally that we really need to see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And if I just expand on it a little, there are parts of the process where we've got opportunities to try and encourage and influence. We're very particular on trying to monitor jobs that are created, where people live, where those coming to Myra to work, or those visiting from Myra, where did they come from? And we try and get as much data on that as possible. But things like even the construction process, where we've got contractors and we're working with contractors all the time, and they're subcontractors, that we try and encourage them, for instance, to look at local companies that can provide and resource that. Even when we just created a new gym, and the gym supplier has all been local in the equipment, right the way through to what I've just mentioned in terms of exposure. And I think it's so important, particularly in the educational system, where we're getting into schools and allowing 13, 14, 15-year-olds to see things firsthand and get a bit of excitement and encouragement to push them down those areas. But also from the service industry perspective, and it's incredible the number of companies that we speak to who ask us, where should they go for some local services? And it's an opportunity for local businesses to capture the growth and the demand from the site. And we've actually got a lot of local links that we try and foster, and a team that spend a lot of time doing that. So it's a big feature, and it has been over the last 10 years.
Sorry, I was also going to ask, you've mentioned about automisation, and I think at the moment we are one of the boroughs most at risk from automisation, and obviously those high calibre jobs. What are the reassurances that there will be these employments going on into the future, rather than building up businesses which will then become automated and not need the level of staffing that we're talking about at the moment?
Yeah. It's an interesting one, that, because it's probably, I think automation is quite prevalent in manufacturing. What we see when we're just about we're about to sign on Friday a construction contract for a low volume. It's actually an R&D and manufacturing it's actually for high fidelity, and it's very manual. It's the cutting edge of technology, but it's very manual, and we can only react to technology in the way technology trends go. I mean, it's very difficult to say that automation won't occur in a particular process, but what we'll be doing is opening up to try and attract towards the specialisms that are there, whether it's in hydrogen technology. There's a lot of cybersecurity now because that comes with autonomous technology. Now, that has quite a degree of software development, but ultimately it requires humans to be working on it and develop it on site. So I think we'll probably find there's a mix of the two. You know, I'm constantly told that the UK in terms of manufacturing is losing out internationally, but actually what we find is the UK is an absolute recognised hotbed for technology R&D, and that's really what the selling point of MIRA is, and why so many companies come to the UK to be based at MIRA. So capitalising on that for the south side is really where we'll be trying to focus our attention.
Any other questions, members? Right, Councillor Powell.
Powell jokes. Good evening. Certainly agree with what's been commented. I was looking in the documents and pleased to see about skills and training for our young people. And I think the question has probably been answered now. But I also have that automation it brought to mind with BMW on Hams Hall, where they've got a mix as well, certain things with those. One section I'd like to know about, and I read about solar energy and also reducing the lighting impact of the area. And I was just curious as well with climate change, probably put you on the spot here, Chairman, potential future plans to even improve the growth of reducing on the climate change.
Yeah.
On that at all? Thank you.
That's multifaceted, but if we start with power, which is very topical, we're actually putting a 7 megawatt solar array on the north side, which is being used, largely speaking, to create green hydrogen for R&D purposes, not for public consumption on the highways. But also, it's a real focus to ensure that developments of this size have got some resilience. And what's becoming more and more prevalent is being able to store power. So generating power, when it's daylight, and being able to store it, particularly to try and take the peak power requirements off the grid. And it's ultimately, there was a very good study, an extensive study within Warwickshire, which had been very proactive in looking at, through the Power Task Force, where there was going to be constraints on the grid relative to economic growth and how one might mitigate against that. So from a power delivery perspective, solar is one opportunity. Wind and other forms are more difficult. What we can also do is to try and what we say is the low-hanging fruit is power use. So one might find which is what we've done on the north side, is really looked at trying to be much more efficient on how power is used. With new buildings, you've got a great opportunity of making much more efficient buildings. So at the moment, what we're constructing in the north is all electric buildings. They have their own solar photovoltaic panels, which they don't entirely power the buildings, but what they do is they increase their efficiency to achieve the ratings of BREEAM and EPC ratings. So both in terms of their insulation, ultimately we can't control every operation inside. We have some companies that have got furnaces or bore and spot welders, and ultimately they do impact the sustainability of the buildings themselves. But all we can do is really try and encourage that. And probably the other aspect is the ecological side, and that's been quite a dominant feature of the technology park in creating that biodiversity.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, sorry, Councillor Davis.
Thank you. Currently, I'm Vice Chair of the A5 Partnership, which is a group of local authorities stretching for over 100 miles along the A5, trying to promote improvements to traffic flow and to safety, particularly. Been on it for 14 years now, and for all of that time, I've heard different versions of what we've heard tonight about funding being brought forward, changes to the junction. We hear one thing, the next thing we hear, oh, that's no good, it's going to be something different again. As a major developer, I feel that you have a role to play in trying to actually help to make something happen along that stretch of the A5. Can you give us any assurances that if you are to be granted planning permission for this, you will continue to use whatever influence you have in improving that area of the A5 to make it safe for the local residents and for traffic users going through the borough? Thank you.
I'll start on that. Just going back, I think I've been involved, not on the A5 partnership, but very closely with the authorities for 13 years, I think now.
Yeah.
And, particularly since the upgrade of Redgate, the dualling, Longshoot double-odds, etc., where there was investment there, we've hosted and very much supported the improvements and generally the focus on the A5 as a growth corridor, particularly where the government can support initiatives. We lobbied for the Regional Growth Fund, which helped deliver improvements. And in fact, the original Redgate, whatever anyone thinks of that, was quite a significant improvement from the original, which had that separated junction with articulated farm vehicles, etc., which were challenging to get across the A5. What's coming forward as part of this scheme, as Graham mentioned, are really some, I would say they're game changers, particularly the Redgate junction, which we know is a problem. It's in our interests to continue to support, to work with the councils, to work with the highways authorities, which we have done, and the likes of yourselves, Hinckley's, Bosworth, Bill Cullen has spent a lot of time as well, to ensure that this is a spotlight, particularly when central government are looking at some of the improvements along this stretch. So we're very much an interested party.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you.
Members, I think you've given our applicant a good run for the money. I can't remember the time when we had quite as many questions as that. Would anyone like to make a proposal or ask further questions? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I think we all agree that Myra, as we call them, is a really good, fantastic asset for our area and indeed nationally, and particularly for opportunities for our young people to develop skills for the future. And I think to see it expand is generally something we look on positively. I think the only issue for the residents of Caldicot is the extension of the site from where it was in our local plan to a significant increase. And it gave them a number of problems from their point of view, not least of which was the potential traffic through the village. Now, Caldicot is a village that's divided by the A444, which is very, and it's not been helped by all the developments in Nuneaton and Bedworth, which feed onto that road, and it's very difficult to get from one side of the village to the other, and there's no crossing. And believe me, we've looked at lots of opportunities to put crossings in, and no. So there was that issue, and also the issue of the potential visibility of this new development from what is now a conservation area, which is Caldicot. So those were the sort of things that the residents of Caldicot were concerned about. And I have to say, thank you to the developers, because they have worked really hard with the residents to try and mitigate those issues. We have a particular issue on the Treble 4 at the bottom of the village. We've got 2 cottages that are separated from the rest, and that was also a challenge about what would be the impact on them. And the developers have worked, as you can see, and the Treble 4 is going to be redirected now through this new site if it's approved. And this is a fantastic opportunity for the village to become a village again, much quieter, and not to have this huge amount of traffic, including HGVs, going through it. And also the issue of the 2 cottages at the bottom of the village have also been addressed, which is all very useful. And I think it will be. You have to balance these things. It is something that would impact on the village. On the other hand, it's provided an opportunity which nothing else would have done to make it quieter through the village and to stop that terrible traffic going right through the middle. It is disappointing about Woodford Lane. However, I do understand why. I mean, I was very supportive of the left turn only, but then again, Manchester's Parish Council is one of my parishes as well, under my county hat, and the impact on the rest of the network is really significant. I think we need to watch that really carefully about what is going to happen there, because it is, again, it's an opportunity to sort a problem out there that we've had for a while, and it does need to be kept there. So I think that I'm more than happy to propose the recommendation that we grant planning permission subject to those conditions, because we do recognise there's quite a lot of stuff that's not actually been just tied down yet. But I think we should welcome this application and keep an eye on all the things that need to be settled. So I'll propose the recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hayfield.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. Councillor Holden.
Just one more comment on it. We sit in the planning board quite a lot and see a lot of new innovation and stuff that's coming to North Warwickshire. We are lucky in that way that things are changing. But I just wanted to note the excitement. I know we don't look excited, but the comments that people are coming out with, it is really exciting, and to know that, I mean, I've met with representatives from Moira in my capacity as a football coach, and to hear them asking for local recommendations for that actually affect my local economy, like everything around me, gyms and stuff, obviously before your gym was built, everything like that, it is really exciting. And the only thing hanging over, I think, a lot of people's heads is that junction. But having said that, I do feel confident that it is in your best interest to help, and I do believe that you will do what you can. So I just wanted to let you know you've got my trust, and I just really appreciate. I know a lot of us would really appreciate anything moving forward to make that junction safe. There was another accident there at the weekend. They're ongoing. It's nothing sort of new for us, but it is everyone is really excited about this. I know, like, they don't look it, but it is really exciting. So we do wish you all the best of luck with it.
Thank you. See us when we're bored.
I thought you'd get the name of the football team.
Any other comment? No, Councillor.
Thank you. I just think I think this brings so many benefits, and there are obviously challenges. But I think there are areas in our kind of economic development at the moment that when we've had Rochdale Council Economic Development Team in have highlighted things about the GBA not recovering as well after COVID, and additional things about kind of the average wages. I think that this is actually a real opportunity to turn lives around. And as Katie said, I've got a young man that's just gone off to university looking at engineering and things, and a programmer coming up, and we need these opportunities for young people. We need to be able to offer more than at the moment. And I really hope that for Fen Drayton and for Woodford Lane and for the challenges that still exist, we can assist in mitigating those factors, but welcome the opportunities this brings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. No, I agree with what's been said. I'd just like to say well done to them. I've been to all the meetings and been quite transparent. And I think it's one of the few meetings, as most of officers and councillors know, if there's a newt or a bat or a trigger out there to save them, I'm out there. But it's one of the few applications I've not even had to bring it up. They was there in front of me. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Middleton.
Thank you, Chair. Again, like Councillor Clues, I've been looking at this for a few months, and I think it's very well thought out. As regards the A5, I completely and utterly understand everybody's concerns, but there's been concerns on the A5 since the Romans built it. It doesn't seem to be getting better anytime soon, but I'm sure this will spur it along, and hopefully the highways will actually put their thinking caps on and work really hard to see if we can get some resolution with it, not just along this way, but also up towards Dorking and 42 as well. Amen. Thank you.
Anyone else, members? Officers, any additional comments? Members, from my perspective, this is a world-class application by a world-class applicant. The work that the applicant has done in association with our officers and a number of you, I think, has led to this application to move forward, and in my view, is very much to be welcomed. It will bring significant inward investment to Northamptonshire and generate between 1,500 and 2,500 jobs. It will lead to some substantial planning benefits for the residents of Caldicott, one of our smallest and most vulnerable villages. It will not fix every problem. It's going a long way to fixing an awful lot of them. I am delighted to see it, and I'm genuinely delighted the welcoming nature of everyone's comments. There is further work to do. The recommendation goes through that. And I think the applicant has made clear their willingness to continue to work on those issues by the contributions that are being sought in the Section 106 agreement. That will form a further report to you in due course. Members, I really have nothing else to say, but it's been proposed and seconded, and I see those in favour. And members, there are no members abstaining or against it, so planning the application is granted within the provisions of the subjectivities in the recommendation. Thank you very much. And we would look forward to hearing some more about hydrogen.
Absolutely, yeah. More than happy to.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Members, that takes us on to agenda item number 8, which is the, in all honesty, we've gone for something which is world class, something which is far from world class. Mr. Brown, would you like to introduce your report on the street votes development orders consultation, please?
I don't really want to add anything, Mr. Chairman. It was a very long consultation that came out, and I've tried to summarise it as best I can. It has been very difficult to work through the consultation paragraphs, and I've said to some members, some civil servant had to actually sit down and try and define a street, let alone a resident. They've come up with this, and it's as good as it is. It's on the paper there. I'm sure there'll be some refinements as we go through, but it is within the Act, and it will happen. So I'm afraid we're left with it, Mr. Chairman.
So, members, Mr. Brown seeks your comments on this remarkable piece of work from the government. If anyone can say anything which is printable, you're invited to say so. Councillor Parsons, you go first, followed by Councillor Hayfield.
Thank you, Chair. Refinements, I think, definitely needs a lot of refining. I think it's reading through it. It seemed to be a recipe for social division, and also just an incredibly imprecise means of actually furthering planning. I don't know what planning, well, you know, what has planning done to offend the government? It's difficult to say, but
Give me a chance.
yes, but it really does seem to make a pig's ear of planning. Check.
Is the word bonkers printable or not? That's right.
I'm sure Mr. Bowen can spell it.
Yeah, yes, I agree entirely. It's just creating all sorts of hostages to fortune. The basic principle behind it, but trying to imagine it working practically, I can't. I just think it'll be bonkers. Yes, that'd be my headline word.
Members in my, oh, sorry, Councillor Goodman.
Okay, I was just going to say, apart from looking forward to a large pink windmill in the middle of Arley or something similar that random residents decide should live there, I think it removes any long-term or strategic aspects of the borough. I think it kind of threatens our vistas because obviously you can see roads from places where people aren't there. I also question the scrutiny of a street making a decision which could be to a financial benefit of somebody, and that not necessarily having the scrutiny or the clear vision and the motives around some of the decisions that neighbourhoods might make. And yes, I think I would agree. Bonkers. Thank you.
Members, one thing I regularly hear as a criticism about the planning system is that it is complicated. Adding a further level of complication nobody really understands is clearly, you know, it's a valuable use of government time and resources. I honestly can't. I mean, bonkers just, you know, fair enough, but it doesn't really do justice to the stupidity of this legislation. Councillor Derricks.
Thank you. I'd just like to thank officers for their professionalism in putting together a response to this that remains polite and within the bounds of common decency. Thank you.
Yes. So, Mr. Brown, you have the board's view. The only other thing I could say is there are plenty of carry-on films with appropriate references, should you choose to use any of those. Members, can I propose that the report sadly be noted?
I'll say that.
Those in favour? Thank you very much. Agenda item number 9 is the Rugby Local Plan Review. Mr. Barrett.
Good evening. There isn't a lot I'd like to add to the report. There is just one minor change that I would request from the board, and that's in the appendix to the paper on page 105 of 119, question 12. It talks about a target of 79 pitches for the Gypsy Travellers, and I'd just like to add that in the comments that we'd ask them to do a minimum of 79 pitches rather than it being an upper end. And that would be the only change I would request. Thank you.
Councillor Hayfield.
I'll move the recommendation with whatever Dorothy wanted putting into it.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Thank you. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Agenda item number 10 is the appeal update. Mr. Brown.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments? So it's been proposed, it's been noted, those in favour. Thank you very much. Members, that's the end of the agenda, but if you wouldn't mind staying for 1 second, I have something to talk to you about after we've turned off the broadcast.
We did this